Joining us now, Roger Stone, political consultant, lobbyist, strategist, and he's just hilarious and smart, and we're really glad he's on. And I know he watches. He's a New York Times best-selling author, of course, and he's with us now. Roger, great to talk to you. How are you?
Laura, great to be with you. You know, this kind of reminds me of when the Obama administration sent a social worker to go negotiate the Iranian deal.
That's a good point. You didn't have much criticism of that, though.
I mean, of course you want somebody who's wealthy to give the president economic advice and spearhead the economy. They understand free enterprise, they understand capitalism, and they've actually done it. They know how to do it. Liberals are so short-sighted.
Now, and I knew that he did a great job last night when I saw the ferocity with which he was attacked by the usual suspects on cable news. And again, they did the same thing when he campaigned, and he campaigned so successfully. And watching the entire performance last night and the speech and the reaction of the crowd, it really just drove home the point that I've been trying to make over the last couple of months, that he should be out of Washington at least 2 days a week. Do you agree with that, Roger?
I do. I mean, the bad news is that the administration has one truly effective spokesman.
Yep.
The good news is it's Donald J. Trump. People love him, and he's a natural campaigner. And you get, to a certain extent, to work around the filter of the mainstream media. I know even back during the transition, he talked about hitting the road and doing rallies during his presidency, which was poo-pooed by so many of the establishment Republicans as unpresidential and never been done. He needs to be out there with the people. It's the single best way to keep his governing coalition together and to keep it from fractionalizing.
Well, and I think that it does beg the question about how to maybe reorganize some of the operations in the White House. And have you given your thoughts on that? Have you chatted with people about how they might do that to make it more effective, make the people who, I think they do want to be successful in the White House, they do want to do a good job, but at times it is difficult for them to break through. And, you know, the media has their caricatures that they keep pounding morning, noon, and night of certain people, and I'm sure it's demoralizing.
Well, the good news is that the mainstream media no longer has a monopoly on political discourse. They did for the last 30 years, longer really, 3 networks and then ultimately 2 cable news networks, all with identical opinions, none of it good for this president. But the rise of a vibrant, robust alternative media is what allowed Donald Trump to be elected to begin with. It's radio shows like this one. Mm-hmm. It's Breitbart News. It's InfoWars. It's the Daily Caller. It's Town Hall. That's why the tech left is now desperately trying to get the toothpaste back into the tube. That's why they're using all these sophisticated manipulations of algorithms and other computer tricks to try to limit, the reach of conservative viewpoints and support for the president. And of course, the most egregious tactic they use is just deciding that anything they disagree with is fake news, and seeking it to block it from the internet on that basis. I mean, censorship, this is the tool of the Stalins and the Hitlers. Censorship is kind of the last stop. When the left and the liberals and the Democrats can no longer argue on the merits or the facts, they fall back to censorship as their tactic. It's really disgusting.
Well, I wonder if there's a way for him, depending on what happens with Congress over the next 4 weeks, is there a way for the president to do more using his own popularity, which is at least double what Congress's popularity is, to get them going? Or must he just, can he just campaign over the heads of Congress? I mean, he does have to get some stuff done with them. So how does he use that leverage?
Well, first of all, I think the fact that the Republicans have triumphed in the 4 special elections since the president's election is a good sign that things are not nearly as drastic as some of the polls tell us. Let's remember those are the same polls, generally speaking, that showed Hillary Clinton winning handsomely and showed that the president had no shot. But I guess one of the first things that I would do is to instruct the Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust to look at the actions of Google, Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, Amazon, to determine whether these actions that are designed to silence the president's supporters violate the law. I'm pretty sure they do. We will have no chance in the 18 off elections, and the president will have no chance at being reelected, if we have to fall back on the mainstream media as the only source of political information. To me, this is the single most important fight on the horizon. Mm-hmm. If you take away our voice, I don't see how the president triumphs. If we leave things as they are today, and everyone, right, left, and center, has equal, fair access to the Internet, then the president will win again because he's carrying the banner for common sense, mm-hmm. and because he connects with people. People see him, they hear him. He speaks colloquial English like normal people. He doesn't talk like a polished, phony Washington politician who's speaking off of polling or focus groups or roundtables or reading a speech written by some 25-year-old. You know, he's real. He's genuine. He speaks from the heart, speaks from the gut, and people react to it.
No, I think you're right.
He's a phenomenon.
No, I think you're right, and yet he has to face the facts that in the swamp in Washington are a lot of Republicans didn't want him to win, never supported him, meaningfully supported him, and were the first to want to jump ship in October when the uncomfortable Billy Bush tapes came out. And now they're spending their time in part praising Bob Mueller. Let's listen.
I have a lot of confidence in Bob Mueller. I think it was a good choice.
There was a suggestion made yesterday that the White House would just dismiss Bob Mueller.
I think it would be as explosive as anything I can think, single act that the president might take.
I think the best thing to do is to let Robert Mueller do his job. I think the best vindication for the president is to let this investigation go on independently and thoroughly.
Your sense on that? There's apparently no reason ever to question anything Bob Mueller ever does or anyone he hires.
You know, I have a long piece up on the Stone Cold Truth today on Bob Mueller because I refer to Mueller, James Comey, and Rod Rosenstein as the three amigos. These three guys have worked for both the Clintons and the Bushes. That tells you everything you need to know. There was no reason for Rosenstein on his own authority to appoint a special counsel. We call it special prosecutor, largely because there's no reason for a prosecutor when there's no evidence of a crime. And there is no crime here. We can't find a crime in terms of Russian collusion. So now Mr. Mueller intends to cook up what I think is either an obstruction of justice charge or a perjury charge against the president to give the Democrats a hook for their impeachment march. I would fire Mueller so fast his head would spin, and in the same speech, I would announce the appointment of former U.S. Attorney and Congressman Bob Barr as the new special counsel on this matter, or I would direct whoever is left at the State Department. I'd fire Rosenstein as well at the same time.
Wouldn't that be a disaster, though? I mean, wouldn't that be a political disaster? I mean, I see how enticing that would be. Doesn't that fall right into the trap of Donald Trump's afraid of something?
No, I don't think so. I think firing.
Can't hear you, man. You got to talk close to the phone.
Sorry. Firing the counsel and leaving it at that would be a disaster. Firing the counsel and replacing him with someone who is actually unbiased, someone who could actually clear this matter, I think would make a lot of sense. Otherwise, you can just fight this out when Mueller brings his charge, which he's going to do.
Roger, talk closer to. I don't know what kind of phone you're on, but we're having a hard time hearing you.
I think we have lost.
There we go.
Our cell connection.
No. There you are. I can hear you. I can hear you now, but you were kind of fading earlier, like you were going far away, and we want to hear everything you have to say. So you don't you think he comes out? He says, "I'm firing." It's like The Godfather. They're all taken out right at the beginning. Fire Rosenstein, get rid of Mueller. Would Sessions stay, or is he also on the hit list?
Well, I mean, Mr. Mueller meeting with Mr. Comey to prepare him for his Senate testimony. Ding! There it is right there. Bias. Gone. You're gone. You broke the rules. Gone. Mm-hmm. I think you have every reason to fire this guy. But if you look at the careers of Rosenstein, Comey, and Mueller and how they're intertwined, this is a setup. This cake, in my opinion, is baked. And they are hell-bent on indicting the president, whether they have a case or not. They have no case based on every legal expert that I respect. But this is partisan politics. This isn't about the law. It's not about the court. It's not about the truth. It's just about removing Donald Trump and doing what they couldn't do at the ballot box. I really believe that.
Yeah, well, I think that this clearly is the revenge of the swamp. You know, I call it the swamp prosecutor. I don't think it's special. There's nothing special about it, and I think it's probably unconstitutional as well. I don't think our framers ever intended there to be this roving, unaccountable office. Hire as many people as you want, apparently limitless budget, and really in the end accountable to almost no one. I mean, yeah, the president can fire him, and it could fire him, but you know, I think I disagree with you. I think it would look. I think Trump would. You know, I think that would cook him completely if he got rid of Mueller, but he could. I mean, he's allowed to. He could fire anyone he wants.
How then will we handle the president's indictment in a couple months? Because you can look at these investigators.
He can't indict him. He'd have to recommend impeachment to the House. You can't indict a sitting president. There's no precedent for that.
All right, but that's what he intends to do. That train's coming. So you deal with it now. You deal with it then. Where I do agree with you is the president's biggest problem is not liberal Democrats. We at least know where they stand. The president's biggest problem are establishment Republicans. When they're not out trashing the president, what they're trying to do is get him to appoint them to high-level offices, and unfortunately, to some extent, they've been quite successful. Why, for example, Elaine Chao, the longest-serving member of the Bush cabinet, a woman whose family has long ties to the Chinese country, why she is in the Trump cabinet is just beyond me. Just beyond me. If it's to have influence with Mitch McConnell, that has clearly failed.
Well,
Dina Habib Powell, a neocon hardliner from the Bush White House, why is she our deputy national security advisor? You think she voted for Donald Trump? I doubt it. Her best friends
why does Donald Trump allow this? I mean, why if? And Gary Cohn. I mean, why does he?
How much does he know? How much does he know? Did anybody tell him that Dina Powell was Huma Abedin's best friend and Valerie Jarrett's best friend? Did anybody tell? Does he really know who she is, or does he just think she's a nice woman that Ivanka brought in? Well, I mean, sometimes I wonder how much they tell him.
I have no idea, but I do know there's a lot of moving pieces, and I'm hearing very disturbing things coming out of the State Department with what's going on with some of the high-level appointments there. I mean, they don't seem to be at all on the Trump agenda. So that's very concerning. But look, ultimately, it's at the president's feet, and he has to be an engaged leader, especially with someone with no experience in Washington, because the swamp will want to take you down from within or without. All right? There's no doubt about that. Roger, we could talk to you for an hour. Love having you on. Thank you so much for joining us, and come back soon, would you?
Laura, many thanks. You're the best.
All right. We'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show. You can go to Stone Cold Truth and read his new piece, and we'll link it up on lauraingraham.com and on Facebook. Don't go away.